people didn't believe it was even remotely possible. But it was the voters of New York that swung the U.S. House of Representatives to the Republicans. It was New York. It was this blue state that turned the House red. That's pretty amazing. And one of the people responsible for that is here today from the beautiful, beautiful Hudson Valley of New York. One of the most beautiful places in the entire country. If you haven't done it, there are a lot of great road trips just up that way, but between you and me, a train ride, if you're heading to the north, sit on the left side of the car. So when you look out the window, you're right there along the Hudson River, especially in the fall. It's awesome. You'll remember it all your life. Would you please welcome from the 17th District, Congressman Michael Lawler.
Thank you, Jim. You forgot one thing on that beautiful train ride. As you go up the Hudson, you will see the Tappan Zee Bridge, not the wall. It's great to be here. I want to thank the Conservative Party for putting together such a special event tonight to honor my colleague and dear friend Elise Stefanik, who's done a phenomenal job in Congress as our delegation chair, as our conference chair. She has been a stalwart fighting against the crazy radical left proposals coming out of Washington and Albany, and certainly is a phenomenal voice for conservative values and principles here in New York, and no more deserving honoree of the Mike Long Award than Elise Stefanik. So congratulations. I want to recognize and thank Eileen Long, who really has been a stalwart for the party, and as wonderful and great as Mike Long was, there would not have been a Mike Long without an Eileen Long. And there certainly wouldn't have been 20 Long children or however many, but it was, along, my journey in New York politics, I got to know Mike and Eileen very well over the years, and as Ed Cox's driver and assistant and scheduler when I first started out, Mike was always gracious and kind and a mentor in many respects, and somebody who really cared deeply about this state, cared deeply about the Conservative Party and the conservative movement. And so many of the victories in New York are attributable to the Conservative Party. The Republican Party could not win without the Conservative Party in New York. And so I want to thank the Conservative Party. I want to thank Chairman Gissar. I want to thank all of the Conservative Party chairs that are here tonight, and especially Sam Namath, my Conservative Party chair from Rockland County. Sam has been with me from the very beginning of my elected journey, and certainly the Rockland County Conservative Party has played an instrumental role in my elections to the State Assembly and to Congress. But more importantly, in this past presidential election, the county that moved the furthest to the right in the entire country was Rockland County. And Rockland County moved 14 points to the right for President Trump. And the Conservative Party, under Sam Namath's leadership, was one of the first conservative parties in the entire state to endorse President Trump. So thank you, Sam, for your leadership. Look, we have a lot of challenges facing our country right now. Democrats in Washington and Albany are in pure resistance mode, back to how they acted in President Trump's first term. Unwilling to come to the table, unwilling to meet the challenges facing our country, unwilling to work to find solutions. You look at the border. They told us that we needed to pass a bill. You look at the fact that in February of 2024, border crossings were at 189,000 illegal immigrants coming into our country. In February of 2025, under President Trump, they were down to 8,000. You look at the fact that in May of 2024, illegal immigrants being released into the country was 62,000. In May of 2025, illegal immigrants who crossed the border illegally being released into the country, 0. State of the Union address earlier this year, it turns out we didn't need a new law. We just needed a new president. And that's the truth. We needed a new president. And President Trump has turned around our country. He has stopped the massive influx of illegal immigration into the United States. Over 10.5 million illegal immigrants came into this country under Joe Biden. Released into sanctuary states and cities like New York. Kathy Hochul spending billions of dollars of your taxpayer money to provide free housing, clothing, food, education, and health care to illegal immigrants. Last week, she came to Washington to testify before Congress. Elise, myself, Nick Langworthy, Claudia Tenney, we questioned her about New York's disastrous sanctuary state policies. And she had no answers, not one. She didn't know who the victims of crime were. She didn't know who the illegal immigrants committing those crimes were. Heck, she couldn't even remember whether or not she supported or opposed giving driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. On top of that, she wouldn't answer clearly whether or not she supported giving health care, taxpayer-funded health care to illegal immigrants. And moreover, she wouldn't answer a very simple question. Do you support the New York for All Act, which would codify into state law New York's sanctuary state policies? She refused to answer the question. And it speaks volumes to her ineptitude. It speaks volumes to her feckless incompetence. Kathy Hochul is not only the worst governor in America, marched herself down to the federal courthouse yesterday to defend an elected official who locked arms with an illegal immigrant and interfered with federal law enforcement's ability to arrest and deport him. And she defended it as if somehow it was justified because Brad Lander has a title. I'm sorry, in America, if you assault or touch or interfere with law enforcement, yes, you should be arrested and your ass should be prosecuted. You look at the challenges facing this state. We have the highest tax burden, the worst business climate. We lead the nation in out-migration. Crime is running rampant. Illegal immigrants flooding our state, costing us billions of dollars. We have a housing crisis, an energy crisis. Everybody's utility bills have skyrocketed in this state. Why? because they shut down Indian Point, they blocked Dan Stammer Natural Gas Power Plant, they blocked pipelines, and they banned fracking in this state. And as a result, our grid today is dirtier than it was 7 years ago. And our utility bills are higher today than they were. You look at the fact that Wall Street is leaving in droves. Hedge funds are going south to Palm Beach. Banks are moving to Dallas. The golden goose is going away. And Kathy Hochul's response is to spend $50 million for a legal fund for illegal immigrants to protect them from deportation. Kathy Hochul's response is to support debit cards for illegal immigrants. Kathy Hochul's response is to allow criminals to run rampant in our state. If we are going to fix this state, if we are going to turn it around, if we are going to make it a beacon of hope and opportunity, it means electing a Republican governor in 2026. Which is why I'm proud tonight to announce. No, I'm just kidding. Lighten the mood up. Look, we have great candidates considering this, between Elise, Bruce, myself, and maybe there'll be others. But the fact is, we need to have a strong candidate. We saw what happened when Lee Zeldin ran in 2022. Not only did he come closer than anyone has since George Pataki, but we picked up congressional seats, and we ended Nancy Pelosi's reign as Speaker of the House. And we know how important New York is. No matter the politics of New York, we know how important New York is to the country. Because let's be clear, if we didn't flip these seats in New York, if we didn't flip these seats in California, we wouldn't have a House Republican majority. And Donald Trump's agenda would be dead on arrival. So we have a unique opportunity, not only to deliver on that agenda, not only to address the issues of affordability, not only to extend the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, but we have an opportunity to deliver on SALT. And that is something that I am fighting for day in, day out for New York. And when I saw the president back in March, we were at the Speaker's St. Patrick's Day lunch. And I went up to him to go say hi. He was sitting having lunch, and he goes, "Oh, Mike, I see you, but I was going to call you. But now I don't have to call you, so we can talk." And so I said, "Yes, Mr. President." He goes, "Have you heard they want to eliminate SALT?" And I said, "No." He says, "Yeah, some of these folks, they want to eliminate it entirely." And I said, "Well, that wouldn't be good." He goes, "No, that'd be so bad for New York." I said, "Yeah, it'd be bad for New York, but it'd be really bad for you." And he goes, "Why?" And I said, "Because your bill would be dead." And he goes, "Oh." And he looks at Mike Johnson and he goes, "Mike, don't let it happen, Mike. Don't let it happen." And so I looked at Mike Johnson and I hit him on the arm and I said, "Yeah, Mike, don't let it happen." And working together, working with our New York colleagues, Nicole, Elise, Nick Lawler, Andrew Garbarino, we have fought to get a SALT cap that will not only address the unfair tax burden in this state, but will provide real tax relief to middle-class and hardworking families all across this country. And we're not going to give in on it. We're not going to roll over on it. This is critical to New York, it's critical to our communities, and we're going to get it done. But we all acknowledge Kathy Hochul and Democrats in Albany, despite the strong objections of Rob Orton, Will Barkley, and the great work that they've done with our Senate and Assembly Republican colleagues to push back against the insanity. Democrats in Albany have increased state spending by $100 billion in 10 years. It is the single largest increase of state spending anywhere in the country. And it's precisely why people are leaving this state in droves. So we have to reverse course. And it's going to take a strong, united Republican and conservative party working together, not only at the top of the ticket, but all the way down to the bottom of the ticket. Because local elections are slated to be on the ballot next year. And we have to make sure we win up and down ballot. And I can tell you, as someone who has won 3 times now in 2-to-1 Democratic districts, I didn't do it because of my charming personality. I did it because I went into every single community and talked about the issues that matter, that cut across party lines, to build the coalitions that we need to win. We cannot win just as Republicans and conservatives. We need independents and we need Democrats. We need people of good faith and like-mindedness who understand the challenges facing this state and this country, who want real solutions, who are willing to cross party lines because they understand that the Democrats have failed them in Albany and in New York City. And it means having larger margins of Republicans in the Senate and the Assembly to deliver on the agenda. It won't matter a hill of beans being governor if the Democrats have supermajorities. So we have to work up and down ballot, not only to win the governorship, not only to win the Attorney General's race with Michael Henry, not only to have growth in our state Senate and Assembly, but to keep the House of Representatives in Republican hands. And that will only happen. That will only happen if we have a unified front and we have the ability to appeal to the coalition that is needed, starting with conservatives and Republicans and pulling in independents and Democrats. Everything is on the line next year. Everything. Everything we have worked for, everything the Conservative Party has fought for and stood for. If we don't have a united front, and we don't support each other up and down ballot and raise the money necessary, and build the coalition, and go knock on every single door across every community in this state, it will all be for naught. And we want to make sure that Mike Long's legacy lives on, and that means having a Republican governor in 2026. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you, Chairman Kassar, for your leadership. Thank you for the opportunity to continue to run under the conservative banner.